Angola reaches for the stars. Why a space agency is the ultimate act of sovereignty. South Africa's $128 billion energy pivot, a blueprint for post-Western sovereignty. Africa's EV revolution ignites. $100 million deal shows a path beyond Western dependency. Ramaphosa's ASEAN tour, a strategic counter to Western desperation. Welcome to PANAF ECHO News Roundup. Angola reaches for the stars. Why a space agency is the ultimate act of sovereignty. While some still view Africa through a dated lens, Angola is charting a course for the future. The nation has officially launched its own national space agency, with a clear focus on Earth observation to manage resources, improve agriculture, and prevent disasters. This is not just about technology, it's a profound geopolitical statement. Here's why. 1. Data is the new oil, and Angola is drilling its own. For decades, foreign satellites and corporations have often held the best data on African soil, water, and minerals. This created a dependency, where African nations sometimes had to buy critical information about their own territory. By launching its own Earth observation program, Angola is declaring data sovereignty. The power to monitor your own environment and resources is the foundation of true, 21st century independence. 2. Technological independence equals political independence. A space program is the pinnacle of high-tech capability. By investing in this sector, Angola is building its own brain trust of scientists and engineers, reducing its reliance on foreign expertise. This moves the nation from being a passive consumer of technology to an active creator and manager of its own destiny. It is a direct investment in strategic autonomy. 3. A multipolar move in a high-orbit game. The old space race was a bipolar US-USSR affair. The new one is multipolar, and Angola is wisely entering the arena. This opens doors for tailored partnerships with other rising space powers like China, India, and the UAE, bypassing traditional Western gatekeepers. It signals that Angola intends to be a player, not a pawn, in the high ground of geopolitics. Angola's space agency is a powerful symbol for the continent. The future belongs to those who can see their own path clearly, from the ground and from space. This is how nations build real, tangible independence in the 21st century. Which other African nation do you see becoming a tech leader? Share your thoughts below. South Africa's $128 billion energy pivot, a blueprint for post-Western sovereignty. South Africa has just unveiled the single largest investment program of its post-apartheid era, a 2.23 trillion rand, $128 billion, energy plan to radically shift from coal to nuclear and gas. This is far more than an infrastructure upgrade. It is a masterclass in strategic, sovereign planning for a multipolar world. Why this is an essential geopolitical move. The foundation of a sovereign economy is energy security. As Electricity Minister Ramaphosa stated, this plan ensures energy security. By slashing coal dependency from 58% to 27% and building a reliable baseload with nuclear and gas, South Africa is insulating its economy from external pressure. A nation that controls its own power cannot be held hostage. This is the ultimate decolonization of its energy grid. Embracing multipolar technology and financing. The minister explicitly cited global nuclear financing trends to justify reviving its nuclear program. This is a clear signal that South Africa is looking beyond Western-backed financial institutions and green conditionalities. It opens the door for strategic partnerships and financing from other global leaders in nuclear tech like Russia, China, and South Korea, diversifying alliances and accessing technology on its own terms. A pragmatic path to the future. Unlike the often idealized and costly energy transitions dictated by the West, South Africa's plan is brutally pragmatic. It uses gas as a necessary bridge fuel and commits to zero-emission nuclear for the long term. This demonstrates a solutions-first approach, prioritizing national development needs and stability over adhering to external ideological agendas. South Africa is not just building power plants, it is building strategic autonomy. This energy shift is a definitive step out of the shadow of Western economic and energy hegemony, proving that the future will be built by nations that secure their own power, literally and figuratively. This is what a sovereign energy transition looks like. Do you think this model will become the standard for other major African economies? Share your analysis below. Africa's EV revolution ignites. $100 million deal shows a path beyond Western dependency. A major shift is accelerating on the continent. Kenyan e-mobility company Spiro has secured a landmark $100 million investment, the largest of its kind in African history. But the real story isn't just the money, it's where it's coming from and what it aims to replace. Why this is a pivotal moment for a sovereign Africa. Financed by Africa, for Africa. The lead investor is the Fund for Export Development in Africa, FEDA, the investment arm of the Afreximbank. This is not Western venture capital or Chinese state funding. This is a Pan-African institution making a strategic bet on a Pan-African future. It is the very definition of South-South cooperation and financial self-determination. Breaking the second-hand cycle, as Professor Benedict Orama stated, this directly targets the continent's reliance on imported second-hand vehicles. For decades, the global north has used Africa as a dumping ground for outdated, polluting combustion engines. This investment in electric two-wheelers and a battery-swapping network is a direct challenge to that neo-colonial economic model, aiming to leapfrog it entirely. Building a sovereign supply chain. This isn't just about selling scooters. It's about creating a new ecosystem, from skilled jobs in maintenance and software to the management of battery-swapping stations. This builds a domestic industrial base and reduces dependency on the entire imported fossil fuel value chain, from oil to spare parts. This deal is a blueprint. It shows how African institutions can mobilize capital to solve African problems, creating cleaner cities, skilled jobs, and technological sovereignty, all while breaking free from outdated, dependency-creating systems. This is what a self-sufficient, multipolar Africa looks like in practice. Which industry should African institutions invest in next? Share your thoughts below. Ramaphosa's ASEAN tour. A strategic counter to Western desperation. As Western powers increasingly resort to aggressive tactics, from tariff wars to political coercion, in a desperate attempt to maintain their fading global dominance, global South nations are building the alternative. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa's three-nation tour of Indonesia, Vietnam, and Malaysia is a powerful countermove. This was a strategic mission to fortify the pillars of the multipolar world against Western interference. Here's the breakdown. Building non-Western economic shields. This tour is a deliberate act of economic decoupling from Western-centric systems. By deepening trade, investment, and supply chain links with ASEAN economies, South Africa is creating resilient, alternative partnerships that are less vulnerable to Western sanctions, tariffs, and political pressure. Forging a unified global South front, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Malaysia are key nodes in the emerging multipolar network. Strengthening these ties is not just about bilateral gains. It's about consolidating a broad coalition of nations that can collectively resist neocolonial dictates and assert their own sovereignty on the world stage. The BRICS-ASEAN nexus in action. This visit is part of a coordinated push. Notably, Brazil's President Lula was also in the region, visiting Indonesia and Vietnam. This is not a coincidence. It signals a concerted BRICS strategy to deeply integrate with ASEAN, creating an immense economic and political corridor that operates on its own terms, bypassing Western-controlled institutions and frameworks. While the West scrambles to assert control, the global South is calmly and strategically building its own future. Ramaphosa and Lula's parallel diplomacy shows a level of coordination that the old powers can no longer prevent. This is the new geopolitical game. How effective do you think this BRICS-ASEAN integration will be? Share your analysis below.
Held under the theme of Malaysia's ASEAN chairmanship for 2025, Inclusivity and Sustainability.
Distinguished guests, we are now privileged to invite the Honorable Prime Minister of Malaysia and Chair of ASEAN 2025 to deliver his opening address and officiate the 47th ASEAN Summit and related summits.
That's your news roundup. What story impacted you the most? Let us know in the comments below.
PANAF ECHO, the African perspective.